the Come On Fuel, we're going to take a look at the Suzuki SX4, and Dennis is going to be in the pits. 1986 was the first year that saw Subarus imported into the US, with just 332 arriving that year. Now, all the way forward in 2000, Subaru sold over 172,000 in that year. That works out to about 20 cars per hour. Now, Subaru offered all-wheel drive cars in 87. They're now offering a new mid-size SUV in the form of the Subaru B9 Tribeca. Here's Dennis and Ian with a look at that car on our first Behind the Wheel.
Thanks, Nick. Our first category for the Subaru B9 Tribeca is Q Factor, and it's the Gadget or tech score.
And it really doesn't have a lot of either.
Yeah, no gadgets, not much tech.
Well, let's not say that. It does have a lot of technology. I mean, Subaru has their all-wheel drive system and a lot of safety features that's synonymous with the brand. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I think the safety features is the main thing that this car is focused around.
And it is, but you know what? Q Factor is about the goodies. It's about
fun stuff, rocket launchers.
Well, maybe not rocket launchers. Let's not get out of control. It has, like electronic door openers or lift gates or things like that. And interior-wise, I mean, the Subaru has this beautiful dash design, and it frames a display that doesn't do anything. It looks like technology out of an 85 Corvette. I mean, come on. The controls for the HVAC or the heating and air conditioning controls look like little dots. I mean, what are we playing, Pong from the 80s?
Yeah, I think overall it doesn't have the fun stuff that we would want in a car this expensive.
Yeah, and it's really going to reflect in the score, too.
Moving along the curb appeal for the new B9 Tribeca, and it's higher than the Q Factor score.
That's about all you say.
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
You got to look past it maybe a little bit for the purist that's a Subaru owner. No?
I mean, there's the FX45, there's that RDX by Acura. There's a lot of stuff in this category that is sexy. B9 Tribeca, not sexy.
No, sexy it's not. I mean, there ain't. Justin Timberlake couldn't even bring the sexy back on this thing. Let me tell you, I don't mind a
Justin Timberlake reference?
Leave me alone. It's got usefulness. Let's give it that. Looks, I mean, that big triangle in the front, yeah. I know it goes along with the other Subarus, but man, it's just, I'm sorry. Beauty may be in the eye of the beholder. A big Subaru lover might think it's the best thing since sliced bread. Me?
I behold it as about a 2.25.
And I just say it's kind of ugly.
Performance is up next for the B9 Tribeca from Subaru, and it's got that 3-liter, 6-cylinder boxer motor, which is a pretty solid motor overall.
Yeah, 245 horsepower, and you got to give credit where credit is due. Subaru has made a living, a company, and a brand over their symmetrical all-wheel drive system. It works well, it applies itself to a lot of different driving conditions, and I like the way that it distributes the power just a little bit to the rear, so it kind of gives it more of a pushing rather than a pulling feeling.
Like a big SUV feel, kind of.
It does, and it has a little bit of a rear feel to it. And what I mean by that is a rear drive feel. It feels like you're getting pushed rather than pulled. I like that dynamic in a car, and I think credit, again, is where it is due here.
Yeah, vehicle dynamics control also wraps that all together in a whole package. I mean, overall, it's pretty solid. The thing that I say is that for the weight ratio, it doesn't have quite enough power.
It doesn't. And the shifting, I mean, even though it has a sport shift transmission, it just feels like it's always a little bit strained or a little bit weighted down. I mean, that's just me, but for score?
I'd have to say higher than average, maybe a 3. Fit and finish is our next category for the B9 Tribeca, and I think the longtime knock on Subaru has been fit and finish. They've got the frameless windows in a lot of their models, and just kind of the tinny feeling when you get into the vehicle, but I don't know, it doesn't really carry over. This is more of a luxury vehicle.
They really did make it a little bit different than their other vehicles. When you look at this and the way that it's put together, and the whole feel of the vehicle is definitely significantly different than, say, the Forester or the Legacy. I mean, wouldn't you agree?
I would definitely agree, yeah.
Yeah, and when you get in it and you look at some of the pieces that are put together, now you heard me knock a little bit about the display. That doesn't take away from how well it's put together. I liked the vehicle overall when you look at it from a consumer's level of, is it going to last? Subaru makes cars that will last, and they've made a reputation of that.
I think when I said fit and finish is one of the knocks, I didn't mean specifically the build quality of the vehicle and the lasting quality of the vehicle. I was talking more about kind of the feel, the overall feel. So,
yeah, and when you apply it to that, the score is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, 3.75, and when you're looking across the scope of Subarus that are on the market today, it's one of the best. Now finally on to drivability for the B9 Tribeca, and I think barring the Q factor, the fun score, this vehicle does a lot of things really well.
It does, and you have to just take that and kind of put it aside when you score it for overall drivability. A couple things that I thought were very interesting. One was the fact that it looked like the natural progression for a Subaru loyalist. I mean, you have a guy who bought a GL10 in college.
Not a ton of gadgets in the GL10, if I remember correctly.
No, there wasn't anything there either. But then they bought a Legacy, maybe even bought an LL Bean Legacy and got something upscale. Now they're like us. I mean, now we have kids and dogs, and we got a little trailer we got to tow over to the dump and get rid of the extra garbage from the yard. This is the natural progression for that buyer. And I think Subaru is tied into something there, because for myself, I don't know why I didn't like it.
Well, like I said before, there are a lot of other things in that kind of sport, sedan, wagon, kind of SUV segment that are kind of more fun to drive, a little bit sexier. But your wife loved it.
My wife loved it. That's what didn't make any sense. I took her out of something that had all the Gadget score, all the goodies, Bluetooth and navigation. She got in this Tribeca and loved it. So Subaru's doing something right. They're hitting their core demographic.
Yeah, I would have to say 3.5.
All right, let's see how Dennis and Ian score the 2007 Subaru B9 Tribeca. In Q Factor, it was a 2.0. Curb Appeal, a 2.25. Performance, a 3.0. And for Fit and Finish, they gave it a 3.75. Finally, for drivability, a 3.5. That's a total of 14.5 out of a possible 25. Still to come on Fuel, Dennis is going to be in the pits with our friend Ty from Baxter Auto Parts. And when Fuel returns on our second Behind the Wheel, we'll take a look at the Suzuki SX4.